Alrighty, it is now 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I'm getting ready to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Cipher. Welcome. Today is Thursday, August the 18th, 2016. There's I believe, a lunar eclipse today. It's in, I think, the first degree of Aquarius. This is not too accurate on a degree, but it's in Aquarius. The moon is in Aquarius, and it's very good to place your intentions out into the universe to, let's say, to find a soulmate, good friends that, of course, you can interact with, greater clients, also to be able to advance yourself spiritually so that you can see yourself uplifting in a very positive way. So before we get to going with today's program, and yesterday, because I didn't do a blog talk radio show, I had a lot of interruptions going on, but I did a special edition right here on Ustream, so people were able to tune in to that show. So I'm here, and let me start this program off through divine power and by divine grace. For all of you who gain an opportunity to listen to today's show live, or to come back in the archives, or to go to my Circle of Grace 1, Brother Francis Revels-Bey YouTube channel, where you could see all of the previous video shows connected to this show. May you be blessed in more ways than one. May you feel regal, royal. May you feel spiritually elevated. May you know that your spirit has been ennobled in a different way so that you can feel re elevated, so that you can get back to being the true uh, person you were meant to be, the true being that you were meant to be, so that your remembrance about your divinity can now come forward. Amen, and so shall it be. I see and decree it for you, as well as for me, but mainly for you. All right, we're going to get started. We might do a 90-minute or a 2-hour show. This is an opportunity to really spread a lot of information continuously across the internet to many people, not just my students or people that I mentor or clients, but to other individuals who get a chance to view all of this information. And I do my best to keep it so that the information that you receive is healing for you. What I mean by that, it allows you to incorporate it into your life right away. In other words, sometimes you might hear information and not be able to solidify it and qualify it and then put it in motion. Now, many of these things, topics, are things that I've read, I've studied, and I continue to read and study. I've been in my field 42 years. I'm the founder of the Circle of Grace 1. The 1 represents the first Grace in my life, which happened to be my late mother, Grace, the Roundtree Delaney Revels. That's her lineage there of names. And she was my very first spiritual teacher, the very first one to explain the difference between a dream and a vision that I had when I was 8 years old, to right up into high school having experiences, college having even greater experiences, and learning how to develop those skills, and then bringing me in touch with different types of quote unquote spiritual and psychic readers that she knew about, that were in Brooklyn, that were in Queens, or that were in Harlem. These are friends that she had acquired along the way once she migrated from Thomasville, Georgia, up to, with many of her sisters and brothers and other cousins from Georgia to Philadelphia into Harlem, and she and many of her sisters went to and they lived in Harlem a little bit. They lived in Queens. Some of them went to Brooklyn, but they lived in Queens mainly a little bit, and then they moved right out to Hempstead, Long Island, in Nassau County, and some a little further out than that into Suffolk County. But what I'm saying here, she was my first spiritual teacher. And when I put together the Circle of Grace One, which I founded on July 2nd, 1999 AD, under the aegis and the anointing of the Angel of Grace through divine providence, once I had set it up, I already knew one of her younger friends, which is now an older friend of mine, that confirmed that my mother said that I would uh, later in life, and at the time when she said this to this woman, I was probably in my uh, not quite in my early 20s, as I was still in college back then. I went to Bard College. She said I would get on this path and eventually have a spiritual and metaphysical ministry, and that I would do quite well in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and other areas, but mainly right there, Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, as well as Long Island, and eventually move and wound up out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was just a matter of time for me to arrive and get here, and we're talking about 30 years. Then I finally got here. So, but she allowed me to have what we call a children's life, a child's life. And if it was meant for me to do this, I would find it on my own, or I would be led, spiritually guided into this field. And basically, I had just a lot of dreams, a lot of spiritual, metaphysical experiences on my own, um, which took me a while to really get a grip on it. And then it was more like a hobby. And then it became, I started looking at it from the skeptics level, because then I knew that if it was really true, and what I knew about some of these other people, if they were really true to form with their gifts, and if I played the role of a skeptic, then I could see its value. And then I eventually got into it. So it made me more of an investigator of it in my earlier years. And I must say, I had my first 10 years the experience where your ego kicks in real strong, and you think you're the only one that knows this stuff, and you know it better than somebody else, when in fact you really don't. And then you eventually meet people who understand where you are on the path and help guide you from being egocentric about it, and to get back on the path of being humble with it, and then allow yourself to graduate through the different levels and the different circles. So I must say, I had a lot of uh, good people who influenced the way that I thought about it, and helped encourage me to really diligently work at bringing it to the forefront in my own life. So this was necessary for me to do this, and it definitely made things much better. Even though I had, and we all do, our trials and tribulations, we have our doubts, we come into a lot of illusionary things. I experienced some very positive opportunities working at the New York Renaissance Festival. I think I did that 4 summers in a row. 1991, I believe. Yeah, 90, 91, and 92. It's actually 3 summers in a row. 93, uh, maybe up to 94, that I actually had that opportunity to participate in the New York Renaissance Festival. So it was actually 1990, 91, 92, and 93. So I had this opportunity to work over the weekends, Saturday and Sundays, 7 or 8 weekends in a row, including Labor Day, as they would do it, and these hot outfits that we had to put together. But it was fun, and it allowed me to hone my skills, And back in 1993, at some point, I said to one of my colleagues who had a booth there that I worked with, I said, I want to become more of a what they call a straight reader. I didn't want to use the tarot cards. I didn't want to use my numerology skills. I didn't want to use handwriting analysis skills. I didn't want to use any of that. I just wanted to be able to purely see the person without reading their eyes or anything, without reading body language, and really let that information. But I had to learn how to trust, and I had to learn that it's this path is continuous. You're always learning, you're always building, you're always expanding. You take a break, you give yourself moments of self-evaluation. You get together with other colleagues who are more advanced than you are, and you let them evaluate you so that you can see where your growth spurts can be, where you can see where you have to work on. And so I've been blessed to acquire a lot of good people around me, even people who weren't truly into it, but maybe they ran a store, bookstore, metaphysical bookshop, and I taught at their stores. So that even helped, being in touch with so many different people, especially getting in touch with other people who are highly skeptical about this entire field. And now, after even being on radio of a stretch from 1982 to 89, and then a 8-week stretch in 2006 uh, with another radio station, an FM station, and these were just opportunities that allowed me to grow. Cable TV, guest spots allowed me to grow to different levels, and let me also know what else I needed to learn along the way. So, and I've had my share of working at retreats. So I didn't give them, but I was invited to retreats to give guided meditations, to do other classes. So it's always quote unquote God send information when you have this opportunity and you're able to give a wholehearted, truthful presentation. And I could say there, after 42 years, I know other colleagues who have been at it maybe 4 years longer than I have. And we can sit back. We have a 30-year, 33-year relationship or more. I'll mention his name right here. I'm not afraid to mention it. Lloyd Strayhorn, master astronumerologist, and I met him at the old Tree of Life bookstore in December of 1978. And I used to hang out at the old Tree of Life bookstore on 125th, West 125th and Lenox Avenue. It was a big hangout. Dick Gregory would pop up in there doing his thing. Victor Kulvanis, I think his name was. He wrote a book called Survival for the 21st Century. Tons of other people would come in there and give their lectures and presentations. The late hobo herbologist, Dr. John E. Moore, as he was called, and he would give his presentations once a week, actually twice a week, every Wednesday night. He had one of the biggest classes where he had taught about herbs, local herbs, herbs found right there in Harlem, in Brooklyn, in Queens, in these various parts. Some underneath bridges. The cars go over, or the walkways over roadways, and he would take people right along the side and identify the different plants that were there. I remember one time we went to, I think it was called Wyckoff, yeah, Wyckoff Park, and it's like a little retreat area. I believe there's a lake there, but there's a big park that people can play, softball. There was, they can go swimming, and it was a group of us who came from Queens and Brooklyn and Harlem on about 2 or 3 buses, and we had like what they call a metaphysical, spiritual, holistic picnic, if you might call it. And Dr. Moore, he worked together with a few other men. Back at that time, I think Queen Afua was there, with us, and because she was very much into fasting back then, and many other people were attributed working through there. There were so many of us who gave lectures from numerology. I gave one on Lloyd did numerology, so I talked about dreams. Someone else and handwriting analysis. Someone talked about chakra, then Kundalini meditation, and we were all like in the park underneath these different trees, kind of spread out, so different people could come, and sit with us while we gave these talks. And it wasn't so much that we were getting paid, but it was an opportunity to sit down and share information with many of our students and clients who were on this trip with their families. And I remember one of the Dr. Moore himself, as he was called a hobo herbologist, he took us on a walk through this park, and he had been there before, but he never, like, he took us on one of the trails that he never really been on. So someone was with him who had been on the trails, and we were walking, and there was some wild peppermint growing, and there was some, I think, the mullein plant and mugwort just growing wild. And then he pointed out another plant, but he didn't give the name because he says, I know that there's some people in the group, they're going to, like, stay behind and pick these leaves and shake them off, and then they're going to light them up and try to get high. he was so funny. He just knew what these herbs were, but he grew up in, I think he grew up as a child in Texarkana, Arkansas, and his mother, his grandmother, which was his mom's mother, was a midwife and a herbologist, master working with herbs, and so was his mother. And he learned at a very early age, and then he started, I think he said at about the age of 17 or 18, he just wanted to get off the farm, so to speak, and he started traveling, and he got in touch with these quote unquote the hobos, the hobo society. Now, me, back in those days in my 20s, I thought a hobo was a derogatory term for a bum, somebody that didn't have a real life, or straggler. But when I met him, he even had a T-shirt. He had a bomber jacket, and it had a symbol, and the symbol on the back was a circle. I believe this is they had a tree. And what it did, it had a rake and the hoe, as they call it, the gardener's rake and hoe, and it was like that on the back, like an X. And I think it had a small axe, handled axe, in it at the bottom of the crossing of it. And then it said the Hobo Society, or National Hobo Society. And I said, society? That's something different. And he went into explain that the hobos were people, men and women, who traveled the old-fashioned way. If they didn't have a car, they traveled on the boxcar of the trains, the freight trains. They would sneak up on there in these empty trains that were so long, and they would travel wherever that train was going. They would travel and then get off and walk into wherever they could. If they were close enough to a town or city, they'd get off and walk. Now, yeah, you would see them with like a duffel bag, a small bag, but that was really their clothes, their tools, and these were people who were highly skilled craftspeople, meaning that they could iron clothes, they could sew clothes, they could make clothes. They could fix things like chairs, tables. They could build them literally from scratch. And this is what they did. And then if there was like a small group of them, they would have a car, and therefore they could drive into town, and all four of them would get like the little inn rooms together side by side, and then they would go out and get work during the day for themselves. And they applied all of their skills. But along the way, they were always putting into motion those common sense skills, and he was the one that really understood how to use the herbs of the land, the herbs and the flowers and the nuts and the seed. He understood those things. And I used to visit him up in Harlem, on East 125th Street near Lenox. And actually, he was closer to Fifth Avenue because Lenox, further downtown, is 6th Avenue. So he was like East 125th near Fifth Avenue. And he had an apartment. And he would have me come over to this big apartment. So, back in those days, in the 60s and the 70s, and I met him in the late 70s, he was in the early 70s. He had this big open studio apartment, and he had this place full of books, papers, pictures, photographs, drawings of every kind of herb that you can imagine that grew and where it grew in the United States. Many books. And this was a man who wasn't, a college graduate. He even said he really didn't attend that much high school. He went as far as maybe his, I don't know, maybe his sophomore year or freshman year. But back in those days, this is a guy we talking about that was born back in maybe the late 20s. So he, was traveling the country with many other people who had these skills that they can employ and work, maybe clean a garage out, clean a house out, you name it, they did it in order to get lodging and food. But he was someone who understood how to use the medicinal side of herbs, wild herbs growing, how to clean them, and how to use them to filter water, stagnated water, and things of that nature. And one of the things that he did, we saw the wild peppermint. I never forget the humidity that day was almost 100%. It was like 90, 95, 96 degrees out. We were walking around out there, shorts and short sleeve shirts, and um, he knew about certain plants, how to take the juice of the plant and rub it on your body so you wouldn't get bit by the insects and everything, right? And mosquitoes. But it was so hot. We were sweltering with so much heat on us. He spotted the peppermint, took a few branches, twig branches, cleaned them off, dusted them off. He had something to clean them off with, pinched them off, and there was about maybe 10, 15 of us in this group with him, and he had his assistant walking with him, and he had us chew the peppermint leaf and just hold it in our mouth, not to swallow, but just to hold it in our mouth, chew on it, to break into it with our teeth, and then just hold it in our mouth, on our tongues, and let it get into our saliva. And do you know, while we were walking with him, within about, I'd say, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, he said, "How's everybody feel?" And people were saying, "Wow, I feel cool. I don't feel overwhelmed." He said, "Yeah, you could take peppermint leaves, clean those leaves off, make a tea from them, or chew on them. Just one leaf. You don't need a lot. Just chew on it and let it soak into your system through your saliva, which then gets down into your bloodstream, and over a period of time your body just cools down." There was also a person who got stung by a bee. Now this walk was approximately 45 minutes to maybe an hour, the way he was walking us up and around. This lady, I think she had a lot of perfume on, something very sweet, and this bee land kept getting around her and eventually stung her. And the first thing he asked the daughter of this woman, says, "Is your mother allergic to bee stings?" And she said yes. So he had someone else in the group with the daughter and the mother. And the mother did carry one of those little small folding chairs so she could take a seat along the path. And he found something in the forestry of the uh, brush of plants, and I don't know the name of the plant, but he found the plant, and he had on him a bag, and he kind of sprayed it off, washed it off, inspected it, made sure that there were no, like I'll call it bird poop on there, anything, no urine from animals. He made sure of that as much as he could, and he made a poultice right on the spot with a little bit of beeswax now, right on the spot, and put it right where she got stung on her arm, upper arm by the bee. And then he took a piece of gauze and cut it and wrapped it around. And they just tied it just enough so that you could see with the oil and the beeswax and this poultice, you could see in the bandage, you actually saw stuff being drawn up. And within about 4, 5, 10 minutes, he had everybody in the group come back to where she was, checking on her. And she said she was feeling a little dizzy but better. Gave her some spring water with some other elements added to it. Pulled the patch off, right? Now, when they pulled the patch off very slowly, you could see where the stinger was in the skin and how it was actually pulled up just a little bit, just enough for them to get a tweezer and delicately pull it out. And then what they did at that point, he just had the mother with the daughter just take her back to where everybody was seated. Now, where we were, you could kind of see everybody maybe about 25 yards away because we weren't that deep into the woods. So there was a little path where they could walk back. And he told her, just take your mom. And, there was a picnic table bench, pull the table out and have her lay on it. Have her lay on the table, something just on the bench part, just lay back and just give her some water and other things. And when we got back, she was much better. So this guy was, knew his thing. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that these are the people we should kind of honor. People may ask, was this guy still around? No, he transitioned in August of 1988. So that put him roughly about very, very late 60s going into his early 70s. So he was somebody that really, worked with herbs, and he was like that old-fashioned kind of guy. He was like the folk doctor kind of person, you know. And also during that day, I know for sure I met him, Dr. Sabi. I met him back around in that time too. He was once in the New York area up, and there were a lot of other people. If you're ever on Facebook, you could look up this guy who went back to Panama. He has these long grayish dreadlocks. He's a vegan. I'm gonna call him a fruitarian because he eats more fruits than anything else that I've seen. But I guess he is a vegan. And for years, he had a shop on West 125th near Lenox, and it was called Sun Dried Foods. Now we're talking about in the 70s, and his name is Aries Latham. Aris is his first name, and last name is Lathm. And he actually worked at a Whole Life Expo. And at the Whole Life Expo, he sold out more food than anybody else, whether they were doing vegan, vegetarian, regular food. Just people were flocking to his booth, and he had a couple of people there, about 10 people he had working, and they were serving up this food, and they call it sun-dried foods. So they didn't heat anything, nothing was cooked. If anything, you might have had some herbal tea, but other than that, that's what most people had at the time. So it was a beautiful experience to meet Aries back then, and then to find him on Facebook here 2 years later, and he's back down there in his homeland in Panama teaching all of these classes. So it's phenomenal. It just goes proof that at that time we didn't know how far we could go with what we knew. Lloyd Strayhorn, he put me on his show. Like I said, back in the 80s with him on WLIB, I was a popular guest, and then he left there and he had his own New York City cable show, and I was able to participate in that show, and he kept going. And I think it's about 3 years now. Lloyd has developed a numerology class that's taught in the New York City college system, and he teaches an actual, I think it's a 12 or 13-week course called How to Read a Person Like a Book Using Numbers, and it's an actual class that people can take. Plus, when he left WLIB and he went and kind of crossed over a little bit onto Kiss and all these other stations, when you had Michael Baisden, and Michael Baisden had his show, and comedian George Wilburn, who was a comedian, he was like the co-host of that show. And then eventually, what happened was you had Michael Baisden started, going to the different cities. And what he would do was, if Lloyd was free, Lloyd would travel with them to these different cities. So here they was sitting out in parks doing their shows, right? On the beach doing their shows or in the hotels. And that also gave a boost to my friend Lloyd Strayhorn. And then he eventually, after Michael Baisden's show was kind of closed down, he continued on, and he would go to various cities to the different hotels. He would go down to Baltimore, Maryland. He would be down in North Carolina, down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I think Durham, North Carolina. He would be out in Chicago, and he just had that kind of drive. I didn't develop that kind of drive like that, but he had that kind of drive where he would announce, "I'm going to be at such and such bookstore," or "I'm going to be at such and such hotel, and I'm going to be giving a course." And people would, because they heard him on radio, would flock down there. And he really developed this. And he had just one book called Numbers and You, and he revised that book umpteen times. And then, of course, when he came out with the book called How to Read a Person by Like a Book using numerology, that was like his second book, I believe. And I mean, he's still out there. You can. He's on. He's a guest numerologist, and he's very, very, very accurate with his predictions. He was first an astrologer, then he did numerology, and then he combined both. So he was like the astro-numerologist of Manhattan and Harlem, and Lloyd was like the forerunner. So if you ever hook up with Lloyd Strayhorn, just tell him brother F. Revels-Bey, brother Francis Revels-Bey sent you to him, and tell him I said blessings. So I just put all that information out. I had a special edition show yesterday where I used the teachings. I'm still using the teachings of Reverend Ike, and I'm going to also incorporate the teachings of the late Dr. Paul Leon Masters, who is the founder of the International Metaphysical Ministry that he developed out of California, and then which was in 1959, and then later in 2003, he moved all of it to Sedona, and he has his office down in Sedona. But he just transitioned back in January. He turned, I believe, 81 years old, and transitioned, I believe, of natural causes about 10 days after his birthday. But he had developed what he called a university system for his own metaphysical and doctoral degree programs, and made it legal. So I know sometimes there's a lot of people that may not like him, but he's like been out there a long time and has never took advantage of anybody, uh, financially or otherwise. And many well-known people, he's asked students who have studied his work. Yes, it's long distance study, so you study at your own pace with the material, but you get to get a degree through his program. And he explains that it's just a metaphysical degree through his program. It may not be recognized by other sources, but nonetheless, people learn. Because one of the things I like about his work, when you get ready to do your master part, you got to write a thesis, a 5,000 word thesis. And when you do the doctoral part of the program, you got to at least write a 10,000 word thesis. And there's a lot of other metaphysical schools that were around at the time when he was doing what he was doing, and you didn't have to do any essays and tests and all of that stuff. You just take the classes, and then they send you a certification. He did it a little differently, just like if you were at a regular college. And I'm going to bring some of his works. He has a book called Mystical Insights, and I'm going to do some teaching from him, and eventually I'm going to bring something of Dr. Dwayne Dyer up in here. Late Dr. Dwayne Dyer had a lot of great information. I'm going to bring some Abraham and Hicks up in here too. So, you know, I'm all about seeing that you get the best in terms of comprehending that which is metaphysical and that which is spiritual, so you can enhance your life and further enhance the lives of other people. And so yesterday's special edition was called a prosperity path. That's what I basically did yesterday, the prosperity path. But I also want to incorporate something here, and I kind of dog-eared the page, and it was called What is Your Financial Psychology? And the reason why I'm just talking about this, it just helps us to release our limitations that we have. Many of us have limitations. Bad, I'm going to call it not good association with the word money. And yesterday I talked about how he mentioned money is really an energy field. And it's no accident that they call money all the way around the world a currency. And it's based on the word current, current. And the word current is like a stream of energy, and it also represents being in the moment, in the present moment. So he was really talking about changing your entire attitude. So I'm just reading just you bits and pieces of what he is talking about. What is your financial psychology? Now, his science of life living principle is everything is a condition of the mind. Everything is a condition of the mind. The idea comes first, and then the manifestation of that idea. You can't be, you can't do, and you can't have anything until you first have the idea of it in your mind. Now, he used to talk about that all the time. That, if you want to manifest a home, new job, a career, a soulmate, twin mate, you name it, you first have to invest in having the idea about it in your mind. And you have to be very clear about why you want to have that idea. Because the clearer you get about the idea, and also, you have to change your attitude about the idea. In other words, you can't have the idea and at the same time dislike it. Because then what? You're just defeating yourself, right? You would be just defeating yourself if you didn't have the right attitude. Reverend Ike always used to say this. He said, don't scorn the wealthy. Don't scorn the wealthy or the rich. Why? Because in life, you always meet yourself. So he said everybody outside of this physical form is a reflection of every thought or idea or feeling you have on the inside of you. So many of these different people populating your world is coming from you. You created that world. You created it through your passion, through your deep inner desire, to your constant thought process about it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. You kept thinking about it, producing that thought, that idea, until it saturated your insides. And then you started seeing wealthy people. Things that simulate wealth, that represent wealth. So he says, you only meet yourself. So he said, if you didn't change your attitude and your outlook about money, then you're not going to acquire a good relationship with money, a good balance with money. So he says, how do you feel about money? That was one of his questions. How do you feel? What's your attitude toward money? He says your attitude toward money will draw money to you or repel money from you. So let's take a look at that. He said everything begins in the mind. Your attitude toward money will either draw it to you or repel it from you. Now we know many of us have been for years, at least in my age group, I'm in my mid-60s, have been programmed from your peers, your parents' friends, relatives, school chums, neighbors, people, uh, workers, co-workers, and bosses that are saying, that we used to you hear that phrase, "The sky's the limit." We heard it so much that we thought, wow, well, we couldn't get something as high as the sky, so I may not acquire that. I may not be able to get that. Then if you grew up in a family where people wasted money, then you acquired bad habits where you wasted money. If you grew up in a family that was heavily into gambling the money away, then that worked on you too, and on some level you may gamble away money or gamble away the opportunity to make money. You see what I'm saying? So, or maybe you grew up in a family that they really, the best we can put it, they didn't worship money, which is good. There's this old biblical phrase that, money is the root of all evil. Reverend Ike used to say, the lack of money is the root of all evil, which makes absolute sense. Why? Because if you see companies out, you see countries warring and fighting over rich, vast resources. So what are they really fighting over? They're fighting over the oil. They're fighting over the gold, silver, diamonds, other precious metals, and precious minerals. That's what they're fighting over. If you go back and view any war in the last 40 years, you will see that each government, each military force, their first and foremost thing was to get into a country where the resource was the richest. Why do you think you have the term in Africa called blood diamond? Why? Because those people fought over those diamonds. Those people lost their lives over the diamonds, the true value of the land itself. Even in the Middle East, to get around the oil tanks, if you get around those oil tanks, well then the military that could capture those oil tanks could do what? Take care of their machinery, their weapons. They could fuel their vehicles. Why? Because they're surrounding those things. And the people who weren't surrounding them, eventually they're going to run out, right? They'll then be a further victim. So I just lay that out there. What is the value that you place on money? And he says, but it should be in your mind. The value of it is in your mind. The understanding of it is in your mind. He said everything begins in the mind. Money, like everything else, is a psychic vibration. In order to experience money as you should, or any of the riches of life as you should, you have to be in tune with the good you want. So that means you have to align yourself to that. That would mean that you would put people around you. You would do your best to befriend people around you who have some sense of what true wealth is. You want to be healthier, you would put people around you who really take care of their bodies. Why? Because then if you're not taking care of your body, you start learning how to take care of your body based on the new people that you've acquired in your environment, who eat better, exercise all the time, eat the right foods. Also, not only do that, but cleanse the body externally and internally, right? So taking better care of themselves. Or you want to be in business, you want to be a successful entrepreneur. Well, it's not going to help you to be around anybody who's never been an entrepreneur. Now, what's an entrepreneur? Somebody who starts a business separate from quote unquote big capital corporate business and begins to find a market for that business and begins to turn it over and over until it becomes valuable. You can turn that business and make it valuable where you start doing what? Living off that business. Start taking the fruits of your labor and starting something else if you so choose, or to continue to expand that business. But being the entrepreneur is you're involved in something that someone else is not doing on a bigger scale. It's not done by a huge corporation, done by you. Artists are entrepreneurs. Musicians are entrepreneurs. You know, the not an athlete, a comedian is an entrepreneur. Why? Because it's all on them. The comedian has to know that they're really funny. They got to play them short circuits. They got to go to the clubs. They got to go to then they go to the colleges, and then they get real good. Now they tour all the college campuses. Why? Because they can relate to what they're talking about, and then they move to bigger stages and amphitheaters, and you name it, until they get really out there. How many people here remember the Kings of Comedy? Huh? The Kings of Comedy was a tour that Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, who else was on there? Bernie Mac, and Cedric the Entertainer. I think it was four of them. That was the Kings of Comedy. And so the first one that would come out there would be like a Cedric the Entertainer. He'd be the first one out, or Steve Harvey. And then they have a D.L. Hughley. He would come out there. And then they had Cedric the Entertainer. He would come out. Now, this is one after the next. Doing what? An hour to a 90-minute skit, right? Of their jokes. And then the cleanup batter, if everybody else had a rough night, the cleanup batter was the late Bernie Mac. He would come out there and he would light those crowds up. And then you had the Queens of Comedy. And then they had Monique and Simone and two other female comedians. And then they had their own tour. And they would go to all these big cities, inner cities, smaller cities, and perform live. Tyler Perry, he's an entrepreneur. Medea plays. All those plays he did in all those towns as Medea, stage plays. And then they got popular enough that they began to record the play, turn it into a DVD, turn it into a movie. But you're watching it on stage, and then take that and flip that into a movie. You have a whole series. So he went from a guy living in a car homeless to now being a multimillionaire. Guy that gave Oprah a Rolls Royce like he had, a Mercedes like he had, white with camel interior, as a Christmas gift. Entrepreneur. Which means he had to what? Change his outlook on money. His attitude had to change. When we change our attitude, whether it's money, whether it's just fashion and clothes, whether it's music, when you change your outlook, your attitude is your outlook on it. And when you can see it that what you are dealing with becomes valuable to not only yourself, but valuable to others in your life, your loved ones. If it's not valuable to them, it's the people who look up to you or the people who know that you've got a gift. It becomes valuable for them. Then you get so much comfort that eventually you graduate it and you take it to people who had never heard of you before, or may have had an inkling about you before. Change your attitude. He said you got to have it in the mind because it's a condition. So you're changing it. So the way you feel about it, the way you think about it, will draw more to you, less to you, or none at all. So he says your attitude toward money will draw money to you or repel money from you. He says, are you indifferent to money? Well, if you're indifferent to money, that's not going to help you either. But it can, to a certain extent. He says your attitude toward money has everything to do with your experience of money. So what would that mean? That means how you experience the money. Have you been shortchanged? You go try buy something at a store and you don't get the right change all the time, or somebody comes to your doorstep and they're hard-nosed salesmen and they're selling you something that you don't even need, but they're selling it because their desire or their drive is they got to make money, and everything that they sell, they got to take a part of that and give that to the company so that they get a commission. They're literally living off of commissions. Or so, are you having a positive experience with money or a negative experience with money? What would be a negative experience that could turn into a positive? Let's say you could be someone who is constantly in debt. You owe a lot of people money. Yet, even though you're behind in paying all your bills, yet you are seeking a better way to get rid of the debt. So the debt is no longer a burden to you. But what debt collectors are doing, when a person can't pay a debt, they call it a dead debt. Deceased, they can't collect anything. They've been holding on, trying to get as much money as they can. So what do is they put it in a pile, I'm going to call it, and other debt collectors buy it. It's considered like the debt is debt, canceled. In other words, cancel the debt. Now, they didn't cancel because you couldn't finish that you paid it off. They canceled because they got tired of trying to get the money out of you. So they take those streams, those lists of clients that owe money, and they sell it to another company. That other company may pay anywhere from 10 cents to 25 cents on a dollar. 10 cents to 25 cents more on every dollar that you owe the other debt collector. And then what does that person do? They now bought that. Now they're going to come after you, even though it's a debt account. Now they're going to come after you and hope that you fall into the game and start paying on it again. And all they need to do is get $1 out of you. Call it what? Good faith payment. Oh, just send us $1. Yeah, we'll start you $1, and then next month we talk. Can you give us like $10? Oh yeah, I can do 5 or 10. Okay, and then next month, can you do like 20? Until they get you all the way up to paying $200-300 a month, 4 or 5, depending on how big their debt is. But once you sent them something, now you're relocked back into it. Or you may have already paid it off with somebody else, and they went online and found it, and they see that it's been paid off, but that they're the trickster. They're going to see if they can get money off of you too. So that can create a negative experience about money. Therefore, then your attitude shifts and it goes downhill about money, which usually happens. People think, well, I don't want to make any money. Because if I make any money more than what I'm making now, that's going to give me bigger responsibilities and bigger challenges, and I'm going to get swamped. And I'm going to start having headaches, and then I'm going to start ducking and dodging my bills, and then I'm just going to run away. So he says, don't do that. Don't become indifferent about your money. He says, try some way to turn it around. He said it is impossible to be indifferent toward money and have a good relationship with it. Indifferent means like nonchalant, you don't care one way or the other. But he said it's hard to do that and then develop a good relationship about it. So he said deal with money as a personality. He said, now this is what I was talking about last night when I was on the page about prosperity path. And he said, for an example, error has been personified as, quote, quote, the devil. It says, I personify money. This is me, Reverend Ike. When he was around, I personify money as a very beautiful but very sensitive, aristocratic woman. I talk about money as if it were a person. Because money is a psychic vibration. So that means he gave life to his money. Now we say money is a currency, and current is energy. So he gave life to money, to the concept and the idea of money. So he said money is just like a woman. There is an old Irish proverb that states, money swore an oath that nobody that did not love her should ever have her. So they personified money, gave it a distinctive value, a distinctive personality, so that it would be like money is your friend. You know money as this woman, and you have to respect that woman, so you begin to respect the money. So that means whatever you choose to buy with your money, purchase something with your money, you're going to buy something of quality with your money. Why? Because then you're giving the money a greater value, which in turn gives you a more valuable experience, which then what? Quantifies who you are and then further qualifies you to get more. You know, in the magic and occult worlds, we take the concept of money and we say there's a deity over money. There's a special spirit or spirits over money that can help you find treasures embedded in the earth, that can help you find treasures embedded in certain opportunities that present themselves around you, but you just have to be alert to it. There's certain spirit forces that are very positive, that could go out and, we say, influence your past behavior, influence your past behavior and experiences with money, and then take your so-called projected future experiences with money and change that. So that as you flow through this current from what you did yesterday to what you're doing now to what you're about to do, your whole mindset has changed. So that you could say, as an example, I don't have any money. So, he says, wealthy people do this all the time. Some of them have done it. They see a penny in the street, they pick it up. Why? It's sense. The sense that they pick up in the street makes more sense, so that they will what? Acquire more. I've learned to do that too. In the past 10, 15 years, when I'm out for a walk, I'm not looking so much straight ahead. I'm looking around my environment, but I'm also looking 5 steps in front of me. Right in front of me, north and south, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, you'll see a nickel. Sometimes you see a dime. Sometimes you'll see a penny, a quarter. You pick it up with a napkin or something, put it in your pocket or leave it in the napkin, and get home and do what? Clean the money, wash the money. that you found in the street. Because everybody's element is on that money. Animals' elements are on the money. You go wash it. Why? Rinse it off, dry it off, and it's new money. Now it has your energy on the money. Just like a gemstone or a crystal. You rinse it, you sage it, you do whatever. So it has your influence onto that money. So now you start changing your experience to the point that you'll start finding bigger wads of money around you. You'll find opportunities where money will present itself to you. You might come up with an invention of a project or something that represents a value of money. And I'm not talking about just $20, $50 value that you might sell it for, but that thing might recruit millions of dollars. So he is saying here, watch what you say. We all have to watch what we say about money. That's very important. He says, never speak lightly of money. And then he gives you an example of statements. He says, well, money isn't everything. Some people say money isn't everything. By saying that, you kind of devalue, you desensitize the value of money. He says, never say what money isn't. That expresses an indifference toward money. He says, so somebody says, well, money isn't everything. So you just knock the value out of money and your opportunity to receive it. He said that expresses an indifferent attitude. He said never speak lightly of money. Money's feelings are easily insulted. So you remember he gave it to be this aristocratic woman. He personified it. So it's like you hurt this person's feelings. You hurt money's feelings. So now money withdraws from you. The psychic vibration, you gave it life. He says, money's feelings are easily insulted, and she will go the other way. She will stick her head in the air and turn her nose up at you and ease down the road to someone who wants her. So that's the same sign that happens in opportunities. You have to be, as an entrepreneur, you have to be careful of how you turn down a deal. Why? Because that deal can saunter from you to the next person who's ready to take on such a deal. And then you're not sure if you're going to have another deal that's going to come your way. So it's better that you exhaust it by thinking about it, tossing it over in your mind, speaking over and over and over with the person who presented the idea of making money, a lot of money, or doing franchises. You are staying constantly in the present moment. Remember, money is a currency that runs in a current. It runs in the present moment. You want to stay present in the moment with money. That way you're not worrying about what you did in the past or what you might do in the future. Why? Because you're consistently focused on what you're going to do with it. He said money is knocking at your door. He says whatever you are indifferent toward will be indifferent toward you. Watch what you say about it. He said the truth is that money is knocking at your door. I'll say it again. Money is knocking at your door. We could substitute money with opportunity is knocking at your door. Someone that you want to meet, and you've been like maybe crying about it. You've been thinking about it, every different angle to meet that person, and finally you realize they're knocking at your door. They're choosing you. She said, if it has to knock more than once. Now this is kind of hard to fathom. He said, if it has to knock more than once, it'll go knock where someone will let it in the first time. That means you're praying about an opportunity to manifest. It's manifested in your mind. You're praying about this opportunity and you want to materialize it. But your mind was right. It was just right. Your whole environment was just right. And that idea popped. And you felt that little warmness in your heart. You felt a little giddy. You felt a little nervous. Got real excited. And then you said, I'm not going to follow. The spirit of money slides past you and goes next door or down the block to this person who look like they don't understand nothing about money. They don't even dress the part about money. They look like they can't afford a thing, but their heart could afford it. They got the idea, and they said, "Okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna follow it out." And they start putting it into motion. He said, "Don't let that happen to you." That's what he's saying. He says, "Don't let it happen." He said, "The goodness of life is knocking at your door. Success, prosperity, and happiness are knocking at your door. But you cannot be indifferent to the riches of life in any form and think that they are going to stick around you if they don't feel welcome." So you have to welcome money in. So he says people, in essence, need to develop financial psychology. Never think that you are above money. That's a very subtle danger that you have to watch. Never think that you're above money. Money is not everything, but it is like the old song says, money won't buy everything, it's true, but what it won't buy, I can't use. He says, so make sure you have a positive financial psychology about it. In other words, when you think about money, you think about what money could bring to you. Now, I said last night in the special edition talking about the prosperity path that it's up to you to bring to the table with yourself uh, the cornucopia, I'll put it this way, of total happiness. It's up to you to be very happy with who you are at the moment because you're opening the door on a bigger level for yourself soon about money. So, in other words, be in a state of gratitude that you got to this point where you begin to understand more about money. Now, I know some people are going to listen to the show. So I know that guy. He don't own this. He own that. So it's not about what I don't have. It's about I am open to receive. Because you know what I've noticed about my life, and I always review. The universe has always placed me in a position where I'm not stressed too greatly about money. It has put me in a position where, okay, my location might be small, but my mind is at peace. See, you have to bring happiness to yourself, and there has to be enough happiness so that you have what? Greater peace. When you have enough happiness and greater peace, that means you can go about your day planning it properly and deliberately planning it to be a certain way. And when you get to the point where you can deliberately plan your life to be a certain way, then what? You expect it. You expect the outcome. Not how much, like how you got there, but the end result, that you are happy. Each day you evaluate yourself at the end of the day and say, I'm going to be happier tomorrow. I'll be more open to opportunities tomorrow. I will do what I can to create a door for opportunity. See, because also what the universe is expecting from you, the universe is expecting you to understand that it is an extension of you. So once you understand that the universe is an extension of you, then it makes better sense, right? That you only meet yourself in your own universe, in your own world of thinking. And your own world opens up and you see other zones. Other people's lives are overlapping your life, so they're playing a part in your life. But you have to give yourself the star role so that you're always in the position of receiving and issuing. He said, because what is the use of you receiving, accumulating so much, and you're not taking care of, you're not assisting your fellow man and fellow woman to rise higher? If you can't assist someone else to rise higher, then you're not truly living either. If you are a teacher and you're not getting your student to accelerate past you, because that's what a teacher is supposed to do, ignite your creative juices in your heart, ignite the mind in you. Ignite the spirit force in you so that you get up and get excited about achieving. And as you're about to achieve, you move to the next, to the next, to the next. Look at those young women, young sisters, as I'm going to call them, uh, in gymnastics, with the youngest one being 16. Think of all those years that they trained to get to the Summer Olympics. Think of the games that they get involved with in order to get there. Setting world records in London, setting world records someplace else, and then come to the Summer Olympics in Rio to max it all the way out. Was the young one Sandra Biles, Simone Biles, 16, got a bronze in one event, but all the rest were gold. Why? Getting to the point where you work at a higher level. So that's what he's saying in here. Reverend Ike is saying, put yourself in a position to work at a higher level. Get your mind to work at a higher level. Don't be indifferent. Act more positively about money. Huh? Have more gratitude about money. Don't be a servant to money. Don't serve money. Let money serve you. Said, don't be a servant to money. Don't serve money. Make sure money serves you. You are the master in your relationship with money. Be sure to use your money in constructive and positive ways. So you might take a portion of your money and give 10%, or take 10% of what you're earning, or pay you, as they say, pay yourself first. Then start paying your bills, and then what's left, put that someplace. Better yet, pay yourself first. Take a certain amount of money and save that money. Another amount of money that pays any additional bills and things that you're still working on. Take another portion of the money and help somebody. Maybe you develop a college fund where you pick one person or two people, and then you bring, through their parents as well, you make it well for them to be able to go to college. Maybe you get to that point where you pay for 1 year college, or you pay for 2 years college, or you pay for 3, or maybe you paid 4. You either amass enough money where you pay 4 years for them to get to the bachelor's level, and at that point they will have worked some side jobs, some second jobs, saved some money, and bam, they are working their way through graduate school. Find a way to give your money value. Because if you can give your money value, then what will happen is you will help yourself to achieve. That was chapter 14, about, what is your financial psychology about money. Well, let's go back to the highlight of Prosperity Path. We have 45 minutes left to go in this program. Before I do that, I want to let you know that I need some water. One of the things I want to let you know is I have these 5 basic spiritual courses in PDF. Excuse me. I have these 5 special courses in PDF. They sell at $27 a piece. One is called The Key to Life is Numerology. The subtitle, Numerology is the shorthand of astrology. The second one is White Light Meditation and Energetic Shields. The third one is Understanding Your Dreams. There's a special piece in there that asks, are you a dreamer or a visionary? Then the fourth one is called The Art of Manifesting Your Heart's Desires, which is a course I taught as a small seminar, actually a small 2-hour class, then a seminar. I taught it as a seminar along with meditation and creative pathwork meditations and things in the summer of 1995 on Long Island. And then I taught it in New Jersey as workshops. And then I taught it as a seminar on a weekend to a group of people at a private home in New Jersey, along with some other topical matters. And so I taught that. The Art of Manifesting Your Heart's Desires, its subtitle is The 10 Fields of Awareness. And there's 10 fields of awareness that you have to know about that will assist you to clarify what you're seeking so it can materialize in your life. And then the fifth course, a basic spiritual course, is called Tarot Basics 1, 2, 3. And in the first part is getting an understanding of the meaning of the minor arcana cards. And then the second portion is understanding the major arcana cards. And then the third portion is understanding what I call the maps of consciousness. And I talk about a 3-card map, a 5-card map, a 7-card map. I hint at 9 cards, 13 or 11, and then I introduce my favorite one that I use, which is a 16-card map. And I tell you what are different poles. But in the other ones, I give you some living examples of how to do comparison readings using tarot cards. So, as time goes on, I'm getting ready to put together 6 more PDFs, but these first 5 PDFs, they sell at $27 each. All you have to do is email me at iam.circlegrace1@yahoo.com or iam.circlegrace1@gmail.com and tell me which ones that you want. Now you can pick any 1, 2, 3, 4, or any. You can make up your own combination of 5 if you want. But check this out. There's really no discounts even if you get 4. Okay, but if you're willing to buy all 5, say an email, say I want all 5. Send me a PayPal invoice that allows me to buy all 5 and save $17. You'll get it for $118. And it's in PDF format, means print down format. So I email it to you, and I email it to you from iam.circlegrace1@gmail.com as soon as your transaction goes through with a debit or credit card and to my PayPal account, or maybe you got your own PayPal account, and I just send you the invoice by email. You'll see view and pay. You click on that button. It takes you back where you make your payments, and as soon as they're done, you get the email with the 1, 2, 3, or all 5 PDFs. Okay, now if you're ordering on a weekend, like you decide, well, I'm gonna order this thing on a late Friday night or Saturday night, then what happens is you need to give me at least about 72 hours or less to email it, because I'm always on the go on the weekends. So I want to make sure that you get it. $27 each for any of the 5, but if you decide to buy all 5 up front, I'll send you the PayPal invoice and you'll just pay $118. So that's a good deal if you want to learn these things, and I'm looking forward to put up another 5 or 6 more. And I have a special website already set up. As soon as I get all of these details together, then you can go on there and start ordering any of the 5 that I have now, and eventually I will add on more so that you'll have a full flow of PDF classes, these electronic books, so to speak. All right, so we're going to get back. It is, I see, 6:18, I think. We just want to make sure. Yes, it's 6:18 p.m. So we're going to continue. Now let's jump back here to the prosperity path. And he talks about is in your mind. In your mind, come to peace with money. See, like you said before, you got to get clear about money. See, on the other one, psychology of money, you got to get clear about it. You got to begin to love the opportunity to receive it, treat it like it's a person. Then you get more quality for your quantity. You start to draw more money. He says here, a child doesn't know anything about infinite lack. Children just know that You're the parent, and you're going to help supply whatever they're asking for. Whether it's milk to be breastfed from the mother, whether it's food on the table, whether it's clothes. We grew up as children, right? We saw a child across the street get a toy. We wanted that same toy, even though your parents may not be able to afford it. But if you had parents, like many of us had parents, they find a way for you to have it, either by your birthday or by so-called Christmas time, or make some special occasion, you'd wind up getting it. You might show them you got the best grades. You're on an honors roll. Now you're getting the gift of what you wanted, but now you're receiving it. So he says you start to establish that in your mind. He says learn how to enjoy the money. So that means find ways that you can spend the money, but don't find ways that are frivolous. Make those ways, ideas, outcomes, let them be something of what value that serves you, makes you feel better too. It's like having a dark chocolate or ice cream and cake. If that's what you want to do, and then all of a sudden, because you have it, you feel satisfied. You want to feel satisfied. He said, accept the idea of prosperity. I said, and he says here, ideas make millionaires. It's very interesting. There was, if any of you remember Star Trek with Leonard Nimoy, his old character would say, "Live long and be prosperous." Right? They spread the fingers. I can barely do it here, but you spread the fingers. Live long and be prosperous. Right? So if you could do that, live long enough to prosper, but not only prosper, but prosper abundantly, and have within you an abundance of ideas where you begin to prosper, which means your life begins to expand itself so that you begin to attract good quality people, good quality experiences, and quality called money, the energy of money, the currency of money. That is the whole idea, to give yourself this opportunity to receive and achieve the best that life can offer to you. He said, because if you can do that, you will make more than enough. He even has a chapter here, chapter 11, from possibility path to reality road. So you got to know that all things are possible. The good is possible to achieve. Nothing is impossible, because actually impossible is code for I apostrophe M. I'm, which is short for I am possible. Possible what? I possess the ability. That's what possibility is. I own the ability to achieve that which I'm talking about. I used to sit with some colleagues years ago, and they used to go, "Are you responsible?" "Yes, I'm responsible. I have plenty of responsibilities," which really means you have plenty of abilities to respond in a given way or a given format where you're not shortchanging yourself, where you are, in essence, empowering yourself to receive more opportunities to graduate and elevate and have more prosperity and abundance in your life. Just earlier today, I had a dream. I had to take a nap. I had a dream that my spirit guide Akhenaten and the angel of grace came to me and gave me this is what they did. They gave me a pink sphere, a green egg-shaped sphere. They gave me a mixed sphere, and then they gave me another one. So they gave me like 3 small spheres that I could sit in the palm of my hand. And they gave me an egg-shaped one that was green. And then they gave me a bigger one that was a clear quartz. When I got up today, after taking a little short nap, after sleeping a little longer, I went out for my afternoon walk and to have a little lunch out and read one of my other books. And I started to take the shorter route to get home, but I decided I haven't walked my older route in a long time. If I walked the older route, it would take me about 10 to 11 minutes. If I walked the shorter route, it would take me about 8 minutes. But I decided this time I was persistent and would walk the long way. Came down a street that's just before my block. I see one of my friends, mutual friends, always talk to, guy's a little older than myself. Earlier this year, this gentleman gave me a crystal quartz singing bowl, a C note. Just gave it to me. The thing is valued at $265. He gave it to me. The same guy that gave me that stopped, went into his garage on a shelf, and says, "I just thought about you. Here's something for you." What did he give me? He gave me a clear quartz crystal bowl, clear quartz sphere. They use it for scrying, to develop a stronger sight internally to see, to open up your pineal gland. He gave me that, which I have on its base on the floor. He gave me a pink sphere, which was a Brazilian rose quartz with its stand. He gave me, which I thought was the mixed stone, but I held it in light. It was an amethyst, purple amethyst stone. So that's two globular forms. And then I just located another one, which is a lapis lazuli. It's polished sphere, and you see the pyrite in it. So I got those four items. But yet I was given that message in a dream that Akhenaten and the angel of grace would bestow that upon me. Then I wake up and think nothing more of the dream. But I know usually when I have them, it means something. But I didn't realize that 2.5 hours later, walking back from having lunch, and decide to walk the old way, which is the longer way, and he waves to me from a ladder on his roof because some guys are working on his roof, and he comes down the ladder and say, "Hey, I saved this for you." And the minute I had got it and held it across my body, I knew it was a crystal bowl, crystal sphere. Just didn't know that I got these other spheres here to work with. So, it's just like that, you see. We are thinking about how to quantify our lives with quality. Quality thinking, positive action oriented thoughts can catapult us forward, then open a door for us to receive that which we were diligently thinking about and meditating on and praying about. Now, when I received that crystal bowl from him, he had said he had something else for me, but he couldn't remember. I thought to myself, and I wasn't expecting it, but I kept telling the universe around my birthday, I need to get my crystal quartz globe so I can develop my scrying techniques. The ability to see in it and make me open up my third eye more and see what's coming. Well, I got it back. Got a crystal bowl, quartz sea stone around my birthday. Now I get this from him, which is a sphere, and then with three other smaller spheres: a rose quartz, lapis lazuli, and the amethyst, and then the malachite egg, and then the big sphere. That's just showing how the universe takes your thoughts and carries them out into the universe. And they float through the universe and they collect all of the things that are connected to your thoughts along with your feelings, and it comes full circle back to you. So it could not have been a surprise, but it was something that I could use. We have to create maps, he says. Take it one step at a time on your prosperity path, but create a map. In other words, give yourself a deliberate path that you're going to follow, because you know that you're going to have some experiences along that path that's going to enhance your learning skills. It's going to put you in the capacity and the skill department where you become very articulate in your speech, in your presentation, and in writing. It's going to elevate your mind from what appeared to be like a superstition. Remember, I said earlier, I trained myself to be more like a skeptic so that I could pull out the right information and know that it works. You have to get to that point where you understand the value of everything, whether it's an inanimate object or an animated object, such as a person, a spirit, a totem guide, which is an animal guide. You name it. You begin to attribute these ways in which you can capitalize on enhancing your own life and making it possible that you move up the path of life itself. Now, we've already talked about how to program your life. And you program your life with more than one thing. You program your life with plenty of things that will move you forward. So you take this leap of faith and jump into something new, but whatever you're jumping into has a connection to who you are now in this current moment. So that when you step out in other currents, you're able to balance them as well. You might want to ask yourself this question: how do I feel about money? You might want to ask yourself that question, but you may want to do this. No matter what the answer is, you may want to forgive yourself for how you mishandled money. Forgive yourself if you ever stole money. Forgive yourself that if you were a boss and you shortchange your employees because of money. No, you want to get to a point where you understand what you could do with money because it's just an energy field. So you begin to understand what you could do with money. It will cause you to do what? Elevate your game about money. When you start to elevate your game about money, what does that do for you? It sets you up to be more magnetic so you can draw money, finances, financial support, financial opportunity to you, directly to you, directly into your wallet, directly into your bank accounts, directly into your hand. You want to put yourself in that kind of position. People have been saying for years, get out of your comfort zone. Well, you can't just easily get out of your comfort zone if you don't have something to land on. So, you want to deliberately set your life up in such a manner that when you do fall or you do slip, you land on something that's safe, that catches your body, which means catches your faults and your disbeliefs, and helps you stamp them out so that you take on a higher meaning, a higher quality about money. When you do that and you put the love of personifying your money in, the emotions begin to generate and send forth this electrical current that can be felt by the right people. So it'll be up to you to, when you get to that point where you see what you see and you begin to generate that kind of energy, make sure you embed in the atmosphere only positive can apply. Why? Because you want to get to a point where all that you work for is not for naught, not for nothing. It's going to impact others to do more things creatively on their own lives and for themselves. That's what you're seeking to do. Impact another person's life. Influence them in such a way, but allow them to still be themselves, but to show them some alternatives of making it happen. That's the whole idea. See, and people may say, well, I want to be happier, more joyful. Well, it's up to you to do that. It's up to you to come forward. It's up to you to see that it can be done. Because if you can't see it being done, then there's no sense of you out there trying to make it happen. It's not going to work. We find out in the long run that things like this never really work. Because why? We have the wrong attitude about it. We come to the table defeated already. You don't want to come. Look, you may not have had the experience in order to qualify yourself. So you might tell yourself, I've done this before. And I've done it successfully numerous times. Why? Because you're putting that thought into the ethers, into the universe. The universe hears it from you, distinctly from you, and now serves you with the opportunity, serves you with more finances if necessary, serves you with vehicles of making money. And then you see yourself going home and being amongst those who are excited just as you are excited because you were able to not only quantify but qualify yourself for a greater way of living and being and doing and having. And this is all very important because if you aren't doing something to create a paradigm shift in your own life where you have greater understanding, greater wisdom, more things to play with, to have more recreation in your life, the right people, maybe the right partner leading to the right people, or the right people first, then lead you to the partner. You want to be able to put yourself in place so that you are what? Always ready. My spirit, Akhenaten, says, always be ready. Not just for those opportunities that will advance your life because it's dealing with more finances, but you're putting yourself in position to receive the best of the best, receive the highest value of things. Now, when we're seeking to have something of a higher value, we're not lowballing something that appeared to have no value. Because you know what? There are many things around you, even in a very subtle sense, that have a great deal of value to it. You just don't know it yet. You know, think of someone brought this to mind. One of my students a long time ago said it. He said, "Papa Bear, do you understand why Levi jeans, Levi apostrophe s, Levi's jeans at that time are the best, are selling the most?" And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. It didn't occur to me that when you are wearing clothes manufactured by someone else, there's a reason now that they put a small tag to be seen on the front. If you happen to wear a shirt outside your pants, man or woman, they'll put a tag there sometimes with their initial. Why? Because they want somebody to see that this is their product. They put their effort for that product to be multiplied so they can sell it. You drive a car, any car you want. Use a different license plate if you want. Each car has its own insignia. Each car has its own insignia, front or back, or as well as inside, so that you recognize that that's a Levi, that's a Mercedes Benz, that's a Rolls Royce, that's a Phantom's Rolls Royce, that's a Chevrolet, that's a Ford, that's a what? What's some other cars out there? Old fashioned Edsels, Studebakers, Roadsters, you name it. Why? Because the manufacturer wants you to remember. So that why? It's free advertising. You walking down the street with something that says Old Navy on it sends out a subliminal message to somebody that they need to go to Old Navy and buy what you just had on. Mhm. You can wear a Kango hat, po' boy hat, as they call them, out of the late 1800s and early 1900s. They had that little snap brim, right? Golfers wear them a lot. But they put their logo on there toward the back, on the side, on the brim. Why? Because it sends out a subliminal message. Every time you have it on, it sends out a subliminal message. Someone else picks up the message and they go buy themselves same hat. When Reese's Pieces was big with the movie E.T., during the time in the theaters that they were showing that movie, people were getting up, going back and forth, getting some Reese's Pieces. Reese's Pieces probably sold extremely well. Not as well as the movie making millions, but it sold a lot of candy. Just think that when you're wearing someone else's clothes or even their t-shirt, you're giving that person free advertisement. But somebody said, well, what if the person passed away? It doesn't matter if they passed away. The name is still out there and you get to see it at some point. So, this is what this is all about: the prosperity path and having a healthy financial outlook on money. Which then, if you can learn that, then you have a positive, grateful outlook on residences and cars and clothes. You give everything its proper position in your life. That's what he's saying too. You want to enjoy life, but you got to put your priorities in place so that they don't expand over you. You expand your awareness to over the priority, where you're so relaxed about it that your phone is ringing off the hook. You get an email. Somebody wants to buy something. Someone wants to negotiate over a car, and you want to let them buy you out of the lease. All of that stuff. That's what you want to be aware of. How to achieve, how to receive, how to elevate yourself through whatever you are touching in your life. What's concrete about your life that you're touching and you feel electricity still follow up your hands and your arms, letting you know it's alive, and then you're going to get out there and execute it. You're going to demonstrate it. So maybe a part of your assignment, it's 6 minutes and 42 seconds into our program, maybe a part of your assignment is to write down your dreams. Write down your visions. Write down how you're going to pursue the dream to make it a reality. Write down the vision and all its qualifications so that you understand that you may need something extra, or you might need several other things to make that uh, thing take off in your life. Then you got to have the energy to be ready, because people may be calling you a lot, emailing you. You got to fill the order. You have to fill the order, and you got to keep going. That's what you have to do so that your life can improve. In other words, you're taking the leap of faith, but you're being responsible for the leap, when to leap, when not to leap, and how to land. This is a way to get you out of your comfort zone. People talk about that. You got to get out of your comfort zone. What makes you comfort? You stay there, and then you grow complacent, which means you don't feel like giving yourself any challenge, or you don't think you could overcome a challenge that's placed in front of you. That's why it's important for us to develop an awareness about how we think about money, and know that we can prosper abundantly and abundantly prosper. So, in other words, you develop this psychic connection to money where money becomes a person. And just as much as you respect money, you find yourself respecting yourself as well. Now, this person that you met may be your soulmate. Who knows? But you're going to figure it out. You're going to really connect so that you both are moving in that direction. That's essential to who you are. You're going to always question, who am I? How did I get here? How come I forgot how to do certain things? How come since I forgot now I got to go through another experience that could be painful to me, but I got to go through it? Then find out it's not as painful to you. Then there's some apologies that's got to come up, and then you correct all that. Now you go to where the other source is, call yourself, and you free the mind. You evaporate the thought of constant worry and anxiety, and you realize that no matter where you go, you are shielded and protected anyway, even right down to your ideas. We have to get to that point where we are really, really happy with our lives and looking to increase our lives. But we have the basic foundation where we're happy, but now you're going to increase it. And there's nothing wrong with increasing the idea so that you can not only manifest it here, but materialize it here. Not only do you want to manifest the idea here, it's in the ethers, you feel it, and boom, it's in your mind. You see it in its entirety. But you see how the fuel can be drawn out of it to plug into something else that you're doing and make that something else expand. And expand right away with less mistakes. Expand right away so that you don't lose out and see any other type of opportunities that are either coming directly or indirectly to you. And that you see that there's people who vibrate and resonate on the same frequency that you do and with whatever you're setting up. So there's this continual flow for you. That's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to move yourself into a greater position. If you can move yourself into a greater position, then you can do more. That's what you're striving to do. You're striving to do more. You're striving to do more so you can have more. Have more what? You can have more freedom so you can do more. That's what you're seeking to do. Have more freedom so you can do more. Give yourself a pat on the back so you can do more. Wipe away the sweat from your brow so you can do more. Get out of your box of complacency and do more. And that doesn't mean you got to go to the extreme. Just do something different so you can see the shift take place, and then you can help mold the shift, and you become the midwife, and the new paradigm is birthed out of your partner's womb into your hands. And you get a chance to be the second person to feel what it's like to have a child of the mind, the thought, the personality of money excite you to the extent that you know that you're going to attract more money, more finances in your account, but better yet, more opportunities. You now can discern these different opportunities that start coming your way. So before we close out, let me put you in a brief creative pathwork meditation. Take a couple of deep breaths and have both of your feet flat on the floor. You can leave your palms up or palm down on the table or in your lap, but clear the slate in your mind. Clear the mind so that it's clear. You're not feeling any images. Now, what you want to do is there's a doorway in front of you, and this doorway is marked. This doorway is marked with spirit, the spirit of materialization, and you seeing yourself having the most incredible life for you and your children You and your siblings, you and your mate, you and your parents, elders. You just know that what's coming to you is going to cause you to expand outward and upward and behind you as well. This is highly important. We want to make sure that you are receiving this information. If you'd like more information about what I'm doing, Brother Circle Grace One with Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey live right here on Ustream. Just email me at iam.circlegrace1 at either yahoo.com or iam.circlegrace1 at gmail.com. And if you definitely would like to get any one of these PDFs for $27, I'll email me at iam.circlegrace1 at yahoo.com or iam.circlegrace1 at gmail.com. And I'm going to send you usually I send it out through Yahoo or directly from PayPal. I will send you a PayPal invoice stating what you ordered and the total amount. So if you just ordered 4, it'll be 27 times 4, which would be what, $108. If you decide to get all 5 of them right up front, you only pay $118. You saved $17 and paid $118 for all 5. And then what do I do? I email it back to you. But if you place your order after 5 p.m. on a Friday, then you got to give me 72 hours to get it to you or less. 72 hours or less to make sure you get it. Get your 5 PDFs or get any PDF at $27 a piece up to 4. I just want you to know that these works are being lifted off the spiritual and metaphysical shelves of my own heart and mind and putting them out here. I was in the process of trying to put them into the PDF and put them into a book form and maybe go to Kramer and all these other people, but hey, we don't have all that kind of time all the time. The universe said, nah, don't do that. Keep it in a PDF form. In fact, my late mother gave it to me in a dream. When I received it, it made sense. Because I was thinking about it. I was hemming and hawing about what should I do with these courses. Got the message from Mother Grace and put it in the PDF. And voila, they're done. So I'm going to create 6 more, 5 or 6 more. Already have a website set up so that you can go to the special website hopefully by maybe by October. If not, we'll still do it through emails. You'll be able to see. You'll get an email with all 5, and then the next 5 or 6 in there. They'll all sell at $27, and I'll give you various discounts. So you might walk out with 11 at an even better discount. Pay it through PayPal and get it by email from iam.circlegrace1 at gmail.com right to your inbox. Alright, I'm ready to sign off. Reverend Ike, he's sitting over here. He's ready to go get himself on a lounge chair spiritually and lay back and maybe watch his son in the earthly planes do what he does. I'm going to sign off right now. I will be back for sure next Wednesday on my Blog Talk Radio channel, The Age of Remembrance, at www.blogtalkradio.com/ circle dash of dash grace dash 1. And we'll be on there for a 30-minute show. I'll come on at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific for about a 30-minute show. We'll continue with some more, either Reverend Ike or introduce his other fellow, Dr. Paul Leon Masters. I'm not sure which one yet. I got to go up and advertise it so you can get it. You can come here next Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another round of Circle Grace 1 with myself, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. And we're going to continue with more of these teachings of Reverend Ike. I want to share them with you so that you can put them in motion right away for yourself. If you like to Skype me, you can Skype my phone number, which is 505, the new number, 505 349 4722. You can try my other number. I don't think I have it working right now. It's 505 717 4722. But if you dial the Skype number, I call you right away. It's connected to my mobile number, and you'll be able to connect in that. I also have a Google Talk number, um, which is 505 289 1943. You can call there and leave a number there. Now, I'm starting to do some lessons, shorter lessons, made available at freeconferencing.com as well as Google Hangout. So I'm mentoring a lot of people now. So if you want to get mentored, we'll work out a price for you for mentoring, a fee for the month. If you're not ready to do that, just ask about the PDFs. I want to get that out to you and make sure that you gain the opportunity to get all this information. And of course, hopefully by Thanksgiving or before, I'll have the other 6 PDFs ready. And so you'll have at least 11 PDFs, 10 to 11 PDFs to choose from, so that you can get all of this information. And I plan on giving people a fabulous deal for the next 6 PDFs. And if by that time you haven't ordered the other 5, well, you're going to get an opportunity to have discounts at ordering not only 5 PDFs, but 8 PDFs, and possibly all 11, 10 to 11 PDFs for even a better price. But individually they go for 27 apiece. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I don't want to be the salesperson boring you with any sales. So I'm going to say this. Thank you very much for being supportive of the work that I do here. I want to give a shout out to my longtime friend, Layla, down in, I think she's down there in Mesquite, Texas, or Plano, Texas, around by Dallas, in the Houston area. Thank you for viewing my show and watching. I want to thank Mike and Marie, who are on the North Valley side out here in Albuquerque, for watching my shows, listening to my shows, The Age of Remembrance on Blog Talk Radio, as well as here, live video stream. I want to thank also Adonis for checking me out, because I know he'll check me out sometime. He's out there in, I believe, in Glendale, Arizona. I also want to thank Jennifer Nicole and Paul Hughes, who are out there in Scottsdale, who are tuning into some of these as well. Just having a glorious time now. I have all these new friends coming and new students who are seeking this information, and the audience is building. I want to thank my friend, brother E.T. Bay, E.T. Braswell-Bey from Chicago, who's always been supportive since 1981 when I first met him in Chicago, 1981, 1982. Getting this opportunity, and we've stayed really close brothers and friends here, and he's always purchased my services and put me in a position to teach even more people. So we're looking forward. A few more things to tidy up, and if not by October, November next year, I'll be on the road going into Chicago teaching, maybe going down to Florida and teaching down in Ocala, Florida at some private homes. Also, tip-top moving along and getting out into over California, going up over there teaching too. I have some people, then one of my nieces in Oakland, I had some friends, and to go up there to teach. So in Los Angeles to teach. So I got a whole line here of people that want to connect. Maybe get up into Colorado, just outside of Denver, to teach these teachings to people. So stay in touch with me. Stay in touch. Stay in touch. Thank you so much. I really enjoy you being in my life to hear this information. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I'm the founder of the Circle of Grace One, founded on July 2nd, 1999 AD, under the aegis and the anointing of the Angel of Grace through divine providence. It gave birth to its very own spiritual and metaphysical institute called the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance on February the 7th, 2009. I like to call the Circle of Grace One the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. Thank you so much. See you soon.